What is going on, YouTube? We are just getting started with a little Amazon FBA Q&A. Any questions that y'all have about selling on Amazon, drop them down below. We got the TikTok live as always here. But going to Sheep's question, thinking I need more reviews. Yes, the answer is almost always more reviews. Not, I guess maybe not always, but most of the time, 8 times out of 10, it's more reviews. Had a product that I launched on Amazon. It was not performing the way that we wanted it to. We optimized the main image. We were at like 20 reviews. We made a push for like another 10, 15 reviews or so. Got it, or it was 13 reviews because we got it up to 33 reviews, and just the performance skyrocketed on that product. So reviews are everything. They're social proof. You guys a lot of times have to put yourself in the shoes of the customer. Are you buying a product with 5, 10 reviews, right? Or are you buying products that are higher in reviews, especially when you see a lot of sellers in the market who have decent review or low reviews anyways. Let's say you see a bunch with 100, 300, 200, 70, and then you see somebody with 30. That's okay, but if you see that person have like 3 or 5 reviews, it might not necessarily convert in the way that you want it to. So reviews are social proof on Amazon. Also, how many clicks do you have on your campaign sheet? I mean, I said that wrong. I said it right. How many clicks do you have? I have an idea product that combines 2 products into one. How do you find suppliers to create a new product? Nikita, you got to be careful with this because I recently just posted a video. With differentiation, you don't want to reinvent the wheel, right? You want to add value to the main product that you're selling. So like, not saying combining 2 products isn't a good idea, but you definitely don't want to like over differentiate it. Because then if you're going to charge way more, what's a good example? Here's one. If you're selling a water bottle, hypothetically, I'm not even going to show it on TikTok, but if you're selling a water bottle and then you're like, oh, great idea, I'm going to sell a coffee mug too. Well, maybe people just want to buy the coffee mug. Maybe people just want to buy the water bottle, in which case you should just differentiate the water bottle, not just add another product there. No, I don't consider new colors as a differentiator. King, what's good, bro? How's it going? But to find a manufacturer, you would go on Alibaba just like you would with another product. 667 impressions, 3 clicks. I would up your cost per clicks, especially if you have multiple campaigns and you only have 3 clicks. Up those costs per clicks, brother. No, new color is not a differentiator because you can just launch a different variation. So differentiator is adding value into the market. Changing the color of a product is not adding value into a market. It's simply just changing the color. So yeah, I don't consider that. What's a good bid? Less than 150? Yes, sir. Hamid, main keywords under $1.50 for the advertising cost per clicks. Also, Alex, you're an absolute rock star, brother. Thank you for sharing and thank you for liking the live. It really helps out the live a lot. We'll probably have like 1% of people who come in here who support the lives like that, but everybody be asking questions. Action, appreciate you as well, brother. 5 campaigns, all bids are set in the middle. I mean, the thing is, if you're barely getting impressions, you've already been running it for 2 days, you got to up those costs per clicks, brother. You got to get them up there. So you want to start, you want to utilize a decent amount of your budget every day to start getting the data. If you get 1 click here, 1 click there, 1 click another day, it's not necessarily the way to go. How profitable is starting your own shipping company? Well, I don't make any money on my shipping company, Kevin. So I only made it for a resource. Logistics it really just depends. Logistics aren't going to be the highest profit margin when you're starting a business. And then not to mention, you have to keep in mind that you're going to be, especially if you do DDP shipping, you're going to be responsible for the shipments. And, let's say that your margins are lower on the lower end, 10%, but then you have a shipment that you essentially have to replace. It could take out those margins. So really, shipping is at a high volume game when you're shipping out multiple different shipments, and that's on a weekly basis. It's not a company that I would ever personally start to make money from it. Like I said, I don't make money from my shipping service. Don't feel silly, brother. This is how you learn. You know what I'm saying? You didn't start Amazon with just this heap of knowledge on how to run PPC ads. And another thing is, you're not even in a bad position with your PPC ads. Most people don't really understand how to run Amazon PPC, but should I just take to the higher end of bid suggestion? Yeah, I was just listening to a talk about PPC. I guess I shouldn't say just. It was a couple months ago, but there's kind of not necessarily like a one size fits all for Amazon. So we're gonna talk in like theoretical right now, like a theoretical talk or hypothetical talk. So let's say that you have a bid range that's from 50 cents to $1, right? Now, I know I talk about starting on the more conservative end, but in this talk they were discussing, and this was from somebody who manages over $150 million in yearly ad spend. So they're levels above me. This is actually one of the people I learned PPC from, one of my PPC mentors. And so with this scenario, right, of 50 cents to $1 cost per click, and everyone, I'm going to get to everyone's question. I go line by line, but I'm just spending some time on this question here. You could sit and spend an X amount of time trying to test these different costs per clicks. I'll start conservatively, then I'll go to 60 cents, then I'll go to 70 cents, then I'll go to 80 cents. Since there's not a one size fits all answer, you could just theoretically start at the higher end of the cost per click and then work down from there, right? So you're sitting here trying to collect data slowly, which I do recommend new sellers to do, but you could up the bids quite significantly, start collecting that data and make adjustments from there. Does that make sense? There's not like a one size fits all answer in that regard to Amazon PPC ads. What do you think of the Cerebro tool? I think it's a good tool. I use it. How much money would you say you need to start Amazon FBA as a beginner? For private label, the business model that I do, $3K USD. Thank you, get it. It's just that I always contact suppliers to buy their product, not create one. Yeah, you're really hardly ever creating products. Even when you're combining two products, it's not creating products. But you want to make sure that the differentiator that you choose is relevant, Nikita. I'm in Greece. Can I start something good? What exactly do you do? I sell products on Amazon, bro. Yes, you can start this from Greece. Also, shout out Greece, one of my favorite travel destinations that I've been to. Some of the coolest people and nicest people in that country. But yes, you could do it. It costs money to start. This isn't like some get rich quick thing. It's an actual, we're talking about starting a business. You got to put in the work to create a business. You have to give it time to create a business. To be honest, that would feel more natural to me. It's quite aggressive, but you would know the PPC is not the problem if you don't get clicks. Yeah, for sure. Do people often get banned on Amazon? I wouldn't call it often, but people will get banned on Amazon if they do things incorrectly. So that's for sure. You mostly hear about the arbitrage and wholesale product or accounts banned on Amazon. Very rarely do you hear private label sellers in that scenario. Yes, but is it valid or 3K gone? Well, I wouldn't start a business if it just meant 3K gone, right, Nikolai? Nikolai or Nikolai, I'm assuming. But yeah, I wouldn't just start a business if it just meant, oh, I'm going to invest this money and it's 3K gone. But at the same time, there's no guarantees in any business that you start. So I do try to be very realistic with this business and this business model. It takes time to start. You're not going to pull out any money for your first month or 2 months or 3 months. You should expect a year of reinvesting back into the business. And you have to make sure that you do things properly in order to actually get it to a point where it will make money for you. Does Vine order show under units ordered? Yes. Okay, I will check that. Thank you, Luke. Of course, Nikita. Okay, I'm gonna go up all my bids at the higher end and see and test if my listing attracts buyers. Yes. Okay, so you made 3.6. This is 1 out of 5 Amazon accounts. So yeah, this is top line revenue, by the way, Nikolai. So that's not profit. It's total sales. And then this account runs at a 40% margin after everything. So 40% of that number that you see. How is to live my dream? Well, I'm very blessed. God is good, brother. So I feel very blessed. Hence why I make content and go on these lives. And I really don't ask for anything in return. Road running is one of the people. The feeling is better than taking. Much love, mate. Will add you. Couple things on that. I'm not even gonna argue that aspect, but you can't necessarily tell anybody in the world how to spend their money, because then people have their ideas of how Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk or all these people should go and spend their money. And I don't really talk about the things that I do in terms of charity, because I'm not looking to get accolades for it or anything like that. That's between me, myself, those people, and God. But I do my part. I do my part to try to help people who are not in the same position as me. So we'll just leave it at that. I do try to do that, but I don't really need to talk about it on social media. I've had people tell me, you should talk about it on social media. Boom, 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 boom. It'll get you more views. And it's just like, I don't care to do that. Like I said, brother, I do my part. I would sit here and tell you guys all about it if I wanted a pat on the back, but I don't do things for the accolades. I don't do things for the fame, but I probably do more than, I wouldn't say more than most. There's people who do a lot, but yeah, I'm not the social media guy. I'm not the Amazon seller who's going out and buying, cars and these crazy things and stuff like that. I spend my money on myself, making sure that I'm financially stable, that my family is financially stable, and just trying to bless people around me. Do you have to do taxes with the money you earn? Yes. Otherwise, that is called tax evasion, which is not legal. So yes, you do have to pay taxes. Luke, doing your part keeps your cup running over. Yes, I agree. Like I said, y'all, I'm not the guy who's going to talk about it on social media. But just know that, like, my mindset is, why would I spend, let's say $300,000 on a car when that $300,000 could go towards a lot more useful things in the world? So I guess just understand my North Star, and then from there, your imaginations can run with how I spend my money. Hi, so frustrating scanning, and I'm gated for everything. How do I find my first product? Gladys, I do a completely different business model, and this also is a follow-up to Jay's question as well. I am not a reseller of existing brands. I'm not in the store scanning items. I'm not doing any of that. That stuff's not worth my time. I create my own brands. I'm the owner of my brands. I launch my own products under my brands. And so I'm not gated for 90+% of the products that I sell on Amazon. I don't have to scan items for any of the products that I sell on Amazon. I don't have to leave my house if I didn't want to sell on Amazon. I also could go and travel the world, which I do, and sell my products on Amazon. Yes, I do private label. How much time would it take to start over with 5K and make your first 100K realistically? Nikolai, I don't really like answering this question in this way because there's so many different factors in this. There's nobody but God himself who could guarantee how much money that you're going to make doing a certain business, right? But you could start with 5K, potentially even under. And then from there, it's about the fundamentals, right? I always tell people this isn't necessarily a business for you. It's good to have financial goals. It's good to have sales goals, but this isn't necessarily the business for some. And I'm not saying you, Nikolai, I'm speaking generally. This isn't necessarily the business for somebody who is like, I'm only going to start if I make this much money in this amount of time. It doesn't work like that. It should really just be like, this is the business that I want to start. I am going to give it my all, and I am going to do everything in my power to make this business successful. That was the mindset that I had when I started. That was the mindset that my cousins, who were my mentors, had. The thing, like I said, I couldn't give you that answer. Number one, here in the US, it would technically be illegal for me to say, this is how much money you can make in this amount of time. Also, y'all keep that in mind when you see other creators who are making financial guarantees and stuff. That is against FTC compliance here in the US. And the other thing is there's too many factors. How many products do you launch? How successful is the product that you launch? How well did you differentiate the product? How well do you optimize your listing? How well do you run PPC ads? So I couldn't give an answer to that. But like I said, the mindset to have when you go to start a business. Also, Stefania, I just saw you pop in the live. Thank you for liking the live. How was your call with Adam? But the mindset to have that I've seen from every successful Amazon seller, it's like this weird backwards thing. And again, I'm not speaking towards anybody. I'm speaking generally. But all of these successful Amazon sellers that I've ever met or talked to never thought about the things that people who don't sell on Amazon but want to succeed, want to get to this point, think about. Not all of them, but a lot of them, right? Again, myself, the expression is you learn how to build the parachute on the way down, right? Too many people need the perfect parachute. They need to guarantee that it's 100% successful before they take the leap. But for me, when I started, it was like, okay, I know I need to launch a good product. So let's start there. First created my Amazon account. Then I started doing product research. Then I started to develop the brand. And then I differentiated the product, right? I didn't know about step 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Only thing I wish is to see your curriculum maybe. It's not something that we show unless you're in the program, Stefania. But just know that there is a reason why I call it the Harvard of Amazon FBA private label education. Anything that you can think of that has to do with Amazon, the criteria coverage, and more so. Actually, Alex is one of the mentorship students. Alex, he's a newer student, but Alex, I don't know if you've gone through the whole curriculum yet, but maybe if you want to shed some light on this. Thank you for your honesty. May Jesus Christ bless you, brother, and give you peace. God bless you, Nikolai. I appreciate that. We all pass through something that can't be talked. Amen to that. Alex is still liking the live. I don't know if he's going to drop his insight or not. But yeah, there's a reason why I call it the Harvard of Amazon FBA private label education. There's no program, there's no course, there's no criteria that comes close to the things that I have in there, plus the ecosystem that I have built. I don't know if Adam sent you that video. I'm not going to dox too much, Stefania, but I don't know if he sent you the video of people who have joined other programs and then they're like, that wasn't good. They didn't get good information. This. You will never say that. Also, one more thing. I have over 300 students in the AMZ masterclass, and we've only ever had 3 returns. 2 of them were before you had to hop on a call with my team, somebody like Adam, and they pretty much joined, didn't know what they were joining. I don't even know how that happens. Literally, somebody joined and messaged me. He's like, bro, what did I just buy? I was like, bro, why would you spend that much money and you didn't even know what you were buying? So 2 of them were in that scenario. And then one of them found himself in a really tough financial situation. And this was still like over a year ago. Found himself in a really tough financial situation. And so we ended up letting him get out of the program since he was still within the refund period. Over 300 students, only 3 refunds. That's less than a 1% return rate. There we go, Alex. Thank you, brother. It is true. And he's talking about the curriculum right there. Alex, one of the newer AMZ Masterclass students. So yeah, less than a 1% return rate on the entire program, which I think is honestly unheard of for online coaching. Am I able to get another account? Got my account deactivated for Section 3. Technically, yes. Technically, no. It's against Amazon's terms of service to have multiple accounts. So if you just created an account under the same information, then you wouldn't necessarily, that account would just get blocked too. You would have to have nothing between the accounts linked, not your name, not your business entity, not your address, not your phone number, not your Wi-Fi, not the device that you use. Literally nothing could link. Also, when you guys hear people get Section 3 deactivation, I'm assuming Hassam was an arbitrage or wholesale seller. Yeah, see, I was actually getting into that question because I'm sure some people already asked. They're usually arbitrage and wholesale sellers, and you only get your account Section 3'd when you don't do something per Amazon's policy. And this happens so often in the arbitrage and wholesale space because you have people who are teaching people how to get ungated through a Target invoice or a Walmart invoice or a Costco invoice. And that's actually not even what Amazon asks you to do. It's actually against Amazon's terms of service technically. So they're getting these advice on these little shortcuts on what to do for Amazon, which is not correct information. This is why it really does matter the information, who you're getting it from. And then they lose their accounts, and then, there you have it. So it could be not putting in correct. I don't even think you'd get Section 3 for this because they would actually just make you re-verify the account. But doing something nefarious with your credit card information, with your account name, doing things not correct with ungating products. Section 3 is very, 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 very rare in the private label space. You honestly hardly ever see it. Mainly because there's not really many black hat tactics that you can do with Amazon private label. Like I said, Hassam, you would do it by having nothing of those accounts linked. I don't like talking about it too much. It's technically against Amazon's terms of service to have multiple seller accounts unless you get permission from Amazon. So I don't like to be the guy who talks about how to do this, because then what happens is somebody starts a new account, they don't do it properly, and then they're like, Luke, but you told me this. Doesn't necessarily work like that. You got to be, usually I've only seen people who are like, quote unquote, I wouldn't even say experts, but people who have been in the game quite a long time do this. Because even me, when I tried to make another Amazon account one time, and I didn't realize that that's all the things that you needed to do, and I lost that account instantly too. So I don't like talking about that part. I try to keep everything pretty compliant with Amazon. Maybe the one gray area thing, can I get it deactivated? Yes, you can. That's what I'm saying. That's why I don't like talking about it. Maybe the only gray area thing that I allegedly talk about is allegedly getting friends and family to leave reviews. I'm not suggesting to do that. I'm just saying allegedly. So yeah, it is tough losing it. Actually, I would like to hear mistakes. I could give you a whole list of mistakes that I've made. I actually talk about a lot in the mentorship as well, Stefania, but I'll talk about them here as well. The thing is, a lot of the mistakes that I've made along my journey, I would start with $1, by the way, Sheep, if that's the bid range. A lot of the mistakes that I've made along my journey are how I have created the formula, the criteria, the strategies that I use today. So let's break it down to some of the biggest mistakes that I've made. We'll talk product research, differentiation, manufacturers, and PPC ads. We'll talk about the big four mistakes that I've made. With product research, it was this weird thing because I didn't have the formula set in place that I do now. Like, I was taught how to find good products, but when I had that success with my very first product, I almost thought like anything that I launch on Amazon is going to perform well. And so some of the products that I failed later on after that first product was very successful. Second product did pretty well. Third product was a fail. I think fourth product was a fail. And then from there, I started to really dial in the criteria that I used. So I was just going into random markets that had super low prices, super high cost per clicks. Like, one of the products that I failed was apple cider vinegar gummies. Literally the biggest competitor in there is Goli, 300,000+ reviews. And so I launched this product. The market wasn't good, super low average price. I think it was sub $25. The cost per clicks were super high, $3+. But I also thought, hey, my first product was a gummy supplement. That means I can launch any gummy supplement and it'll do well. I was wrong. So product research, that was one of the mistakes that I made. Differentiation, this one kind of ties hand in hand with product research. I'm gonna get to everyone's question, don't worry. Appreciate everybody in the live. I'm just going over some of the mistakes that I've made selling on Amazon. The other one was I didn't differentiate a product properly. So another product that I failed was wrist wraps. This is what I tell people. Don't launch products that you like. Launch products that have good market numbers that you can stand out from the competition with. So I launched these wrist wraps because I'm into the gym. I'm like, yeah, this is bound to do good. It has to do good. And I didn't do anything differently with the product. Not only that, because I was a new seller, essentially no differentiation, no added value into the market. I was only competing on price. And there was people who sold these wrist wraps for like $7.99. Meanwhile, that was like my landed cost. So I had to sell it for, $15+. And now I'm almost like not priced out of the market, but now I'm one of the highest priced sellers in that market. I didn't even change the color, just black wrist wraps, slap my logo on it, called it a day. When in reality, there was a lot of things that I don't think that was a good market regardless, but in reality, I probably could have done some things to differentiate that product and actually add value, right? Like, I saw a brand who did like these super unique designs. They didn't differentiate it. It wasn't color, but it was like super cool designs. I thought that was actually unique. That could have been something decent, but I didn't do any of that. So hence why now I'm so adamant about differentiating your product. Now let's go into number 3, manufacturing. I had a product where, and I've made a video about this as well a while back, but I had a product where I was trying to get a lower cost of goods. My manufacturer wasn't budging, even though I was placing larger orders. So I started contacting different manufacturers. I already had some units at Amazon still. So then I contact these new, I'll get to every question. Don't worry, Jay. Let me finish the big 4 and then we'll get back into questions. Y'all keep asking them and just know that I'll go back and answer them all line by line. So I go and I start contacting new manufacturers, and I finally found one who had pretty decent pricing for the units that I wanted to order. It beat my pricing. So, and this was also before, let me get to that in a second. So I go ahead, I order a sample. I get the sample, quality looks good. It's pretty much like a 1-to-1 replica to what I've already launched on Amazon. So I'm like, sweet, let's place my bulk order. Now this was before 2 things. It was before I would have inventory directly sent to Amazon. And it was before I started getting third-party inspections done after my products were produced. Again, hence why a lot of the things that I do now were from past mistakes that I made. And so I placed the order, and this manufacturer, this was another big mistake in this process. The manufacturer was like, hey, can we take communication off of Alibaba? It's better for us. Can we use WhatsApp? Sure, yeah, that seems fine. What's the harm in that? Let's use WhatsApp. So we start contacting on WhatsApp, and the order comes in. The product comes to where I lived. I start opening up the boxes. I notice a bunch of mistakes in the product. I'm like, wait, this isn't like the sample that I ordered. I open up more boxes. Pretty much like 90% of the units were messed up, not up to the standard that I could go and actually list on Amazon. So I contact the manufacturer. I'm like, guys, what is going on? This is ridiculous. Like, look, I send them pictures, all of this. They're like, let me talk to my manager. They have a manager come into the chat, because I actually switched over to Alibaba to send these messages. So they added a manager into the chat, and they start saying, the manager's like, oh my gosh, we're so sorry. We're going to fix this. Please create a case with Alibaba, like a dispute with Alibaba, and we'll refund you the products and remanufacture all of them. I'm like, okay, sweet. At least they're going to do right by their mistake. So it's late at night. I put in the dispute with Alibaba. I wake up early morning just to see that they disputed the dispute. So they came in and they just complete lies. They were like, this customer is lying. These products were not messed up. They were not blah, 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 blah. They weren't good, or they were good. They sent fake pictures. So then I added to the dispute. I sent Alibaba the pictures. I also paid on this order via wire transfer. That's a key to understand for the end of the story. And so we're going back and forth. After a little bit of back and forth, I'm like, I'm bound to win this dispute. Alibaba's like, because you broke our trade assurance guidelines, you took communication off of Alibaba, we can't help you. I was like, there's no way. So I call my bank. I'm like, guys, can you help me with this? And at first the bank was like, yeah, we'll be able to get your money back. I'm so sorry that happened to you. A couple days later, I get a call from the bank. They're like, hey, did you pay this via wire transfer? I'm like,